Abandoned? Xiao was startled as he faced Yao Lao in front of him. He only softly asked after a long while, "With teacher's medicinal refining talent, hardly anyone across the current Dochi continent could compare with you. How could you be a person abandoned by the Yao clan?" "It is because of the Dodi bloodline." Yao Lao hinted at a smile. The emotions on his face slowly withdrew as he explained. Being born within an ancient clan comes with a far greater pressure than other places. There, one's status is differentiated by the richness of one's bloodline. However, both of us are similar. The Dodi bloodline flowing within my body is so thin that it is insignificant. When I was in the Yao clan, I was eventually expelled due to the failure of a mission I was performing. I was dissatisfied after leaving and began to place all of my effort into pill refinement. I roamed the Central Plains alone, muddled along for nearly a century, and gained some achievements. Back then, I still bore the whimsical thought that the clan would once again summon me back. However, with the flow of time, this kind of hope gradually disappeared. Yao Lao softly continued, "This clan might be the place that raised me, but I do not have much feelings for them. My parents had died when I was young. Subsequently, I gradually forgot about them and did not even remember them. Moreover, only some members of the Yao clan are aware that I was once a member of that clan. Even the Hall of Souls is unaware." Xiao was quiet. It seemed that Yao Lao felt rejected by the Yao clan. Otherwise, he would not fail to mention a sliver about it after so many years. With teacher's current strength, no one would be able to stop you if you wished to return to the Yao clan, right? Xiao asked. "Is there any meaning to returning to that kind of place? During these years, I have only been aware that I am Yao Chen. However, this Yao is not the Yao of the Yao clan. Since they think that the old me is a useless person, the old me shall show them how well I am doing within the Central Plains, and that people without the Dodi bloodline can truly become a top expert." Yao Lao smiled when he spoke. He turned to Xiao and said, "Moreover, the old me will show them that even the disciple that the old me has recruited will far exceed the people who possess a Dodi bloodline, which they so treasure." Xiao nodded. His heart felt an additional dislike for this so-called Yao clan. "Forget it. Let's not talk about this. There is hardly anyone within this Central Plains region who are aware of these 8 ancient clans. However, you currently possess the qualification to know about them. This is the reason why I am telling you this now." Yao Lao was also unwilling to continue being entangled with this topic for long. He immediately waved his hands as he explained his reasoning. "As for the faction with the most heavenly flames that I mentioned earlier, it should be the Yin clan, which is one of the 8 ancient clans." Yao Lao mused for a moment before speaking. "Based on what I know, the Yin clan should be in possession of 4 types of heavenly flames. Among them, there are 2 heavenly flames in the top 10. 4 types of heavenly flames?" Xiao was startled when he heard this. This was the first time that he had heard of a faction possessing such a number of heavenly flames. Other than the Yin clan, the Yao clan also possesses 2 types of heavenly flames. They specialize in ancient medicinal refinement. There are quite a number of experts within the clan. It is likely that you will get a chance to meet them in the future. At that time, you will be aware of their specialty. Of course, there is no need for you to be afraid of them. With your current medicinal refinement skills, the number of people among the younger generation of the Yao clan who could beat you can be counted with one hand." Yao Lao smiled as he spoke. "Countable with one hand." Xiao frowned upon hearing these words. If there were no unique circumstances, he likely had the best medicinal pill refinement skill among the younger generation in the Central Plains. However, this ability was only ranked behind the top 5 within the Yao clan. This ranking caused him to feel a little dissatisfied. Of course, You should forget about placing your intentions on these heavenly flames, because the two great clans have already added an inherited seal that is stronger than that of the burning Flame Valley's 9 dragon lightning flame during their countless years of inheritance. You will not be able to refine and swallow them even if you do obtain them. Yao Lao grinned as he continued to speak. Xiao Yin nodded with a bitter smile. He also did not possess such thoughts. In order for the Yao clan and the Yin clan to survive until now, their strength was not weak. He currently did not possess much courage to place his intention on them. After all, just one Hall of Souls had already left him in a battered shape. It was not wise to add more powerful opponents now. It looks like I can only quietly wait for the so-called spatial trade fair to begin, Xiao Yin hopelessly lamented. Yao Lao smiled and said, the spatial trade fair will require one to wait. However, you still have to make a trip somewhere before then. Where? Xiao Yin asked in surprise. Goo Clan, Goo Realm. Yao Lao softly replied. Xiao Yan's hands suddenly trembled when he heard these names. An extremely beautiful face that could bring disaster to cities and countries, along with an elegant lotus-like demeanor, slowly surfaced in his mind. No matter what the case was, it would not disappear. Xun'er. Xiao Yin inhaled a deep breath of air. A fiery heat suddenly surged into his dark black eyes. That little girl had always caused him to worry since the beginning. In another month's time, the adult ceremony of the Goo Clan will be held. It is held once every 2 decades. This is a great event within the Goo Clan because those who are qualified to participate in this adult ceremony are all the most outstanding members of the younger generation within the Goo Clan. There are not many factions that can receive an invitation from the Goo Clan. If I had not advanced to the Bansheng class this time around, it is likely that the Falling Star Pavilion would not have received this qualification. Yao Lao took a black jade invitation from his storage ring. There were many mysterious lines outlining it. It gave one a mysterious feeling. This is the invitation. Only by possessing it will one be able to enter the Goo Realm. Originally, the old me should be the one heading there this time around. However, you should also be aware of the situation that the current Falling Star Pavilion faces. Although quite a number of old fellows on the continent have joined the Falling Star Pavilion recently, the thing that truly causes the Hall of Soul to be afraid of doing anything funny is this Bansheng strength of mine. Hence, I am unable to personally accept the invitation of the Goo Clan this time around. This task can only be left to you, Yao Lao beamed. He handed the black jade invitation to Xiao Yin as he gave a valid reason. Xiao Yin stared intently at the black jade invitation. A moment later, he finally extended his hand and received it. The Goo Clan was a powerful clan that had a connection with the Xiao clan. He was finally about to make direct contact with them. A faint warmth spread when the black jade invitation entered Xiao Yan's hand. It also caused his heart to gradually recover. Those who have been invited by the Goo Clan are powerful factions and peak-level experts on the continent. This is also an experience for you. Of course, with your current strength and reputation, you have reached the level where you are on even terms. Yao Lao smiled as he asked, So, do you have the courage to go? Teacher, you can rest assured. Xiao Yin gently tightened his hand over the jade invitation. He smiled and softly said, This disciple will definitely not cause teacher to lose face. Haha, I am not worried about this. Yao Lao loudly laughed. After which, he patted Xiao Yan's shoulders and continued, You should leave after a couple of days. I am aware of the relationship between you and Xun'er. You should be more cautious when you reach the Goo Clan area. That girl is extremely outstanding within the Goo Clan. I am aware that she possesses the most complete Dodi bloodline within the Goo Clan in so many years. She has the greatest chance of breaking through to that legendary level. Hence, it is not easy if you wish to be with her. Xiao Yin quietly nodded. He had already vaguely sensed Xun'er's position within the Goo Clan a long time ago. However, Her voice and smile were like carving blades that left deep impressions within Xiao Yan's soul. He was unable to remove them. In this world, there was no strength that could remove this imprint. Even the powerful Goo Clan could do nothing. You should also bring Tianhua Zunjia and the little fairy doctor along when you head to the Goo Realm, Yao Lao said. After helping Tianhua Zunjia refine some medicinal pills, his strength has recovered to a 6-star dozun. I only helped the little fairy doctor refine a little of her woeful poison body. After which, I asked her to head to a place on her own. What place? Xiao Yan asked in a startled manner when he heard this. An old tomb that an ordinary person is unaware of. She will be able to obtain the method to completely control the woeful poison body there. The poison pill method that I left behind was obtained from that place. Yao Lao fondled his beard, grinned, and replied, "Oh." Xiao Yan was surprised. This poison pill method was not left behind by Yao Lao? Just what kind of mysterious person created such a wonderful method? Why does that person have such a great understanding of the woeful poison body? Xiao Yan asked in surprise. It is likely that there will not be a second person who understands the woeful poison body more than her because she was also in possession of a woeful poison body when she was alive. However, she does not possess the good luck of the little fairy doctor. The method to control the poison body was also something that she had created when she was about to die, Yao Lao said. She actually also had the woeful poison body. No wonder. The little fairy doctor will obtain the method to completely control the woeful poison body at the place where that person rests. At that time, she will be the first person in history to truly control the woeful poison body. Yao Lao laughed as he said, "When the little fairy doctor returns, it will be time for you to head to the ancient realm." Xiao Yan slowly nodded. He curled his lips. His hands suddenly tightened on the jade invitation. "Xun'er, I said that the next time we meet will be at the Goo Clan. Therefore, wait for me." Xiao Yan remained within the falling star pavilion while he waited for little fairy doctor to return. While he waited, Xiao Yan did not train his Do Qi. Instead, he had turned his attention to the training of his soul. The strength of one's spiritual strength was related to the tier of an alchemist. Ever since Xiao Yan's spirit had advanced to the soul state, he had not paid much attention to it due to needing to train his Do Qi. After all, as a Tier 8 alchemist, those of the same generation within the Central Plains who could beat him were extremely rare. But after hearing Yao Lao's explanations, he understood that this little achievement was not something to be of proud. His current alchemist level could barely be squeezed into the top 5 of the younger generation within that mysterious Yao clan. This fact, which had been spoken from Yao Lao's mouth, left a great pressure on Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan understood that he would probably come into contact with the Yao clan in the future due to his relationship with Yao Lao. No matter what the case was, he couldn't let Yao Lao lose face. Hence, from the way he saw it now, a Tier 8 alchemist was a little inadequate. When speaking about raising an alchemist's tier, it would undoubtedly mean raising one's spiritual strength state. However, the 4 great spiritual states were not things that one could advance to just because wanted to. Mortal, soul, heavenly, D. Xiao Yan was at the soul state within the 4 great spiritual states. However, there were very few people in the Central Plains who knew how to train one's soul. Among the people who Xiao Yan was acquainted with, the number of people whose spirit had surpassed the soul state and stepped into the heavenly state would not exceed one's fingers. The 3 giant heads of the Pill Tower possessed this ability. Yao Lao, who had currently advanced to the Bansheng class, was also within this category. Even though this was the case, Xiao Yan was certain that they were still at the heavenly state. As for the extremely mysterious D state, it was likely that this continent did not possess an alchemist at this level. My current alchemist tier should likely be at the peak of the initial Tier 8 level. Xiao Yan revealed an expression of contemplation within the quiet room. Normally speaking, an alchemist who could refine a four-colored pill lightning medicinal pill could be considered to be at the peak of the initial Tier 8 level. Although the pill lightning that Xiao Yin had attracted during the pill gathering had 5 colors, the final color had not been very pure. Hence, he only placed himself at the peak of the initial Tier 8 level. Attracting an additional pill lightning color for a medicinal pill within the Tier 8 level involved a great gap that was as far as the heavens and earth. Hence, some of the alchemist gurus who could attract a 5-colored pill lightning were at the intermediate Tier 8 level. Only if one attracted 8-colored or more pill lightning could one be called a Tier 8 advanced level alchemist. However, the people of this level were existences countable with one's fingers even within the pill tower. My spirit should belong to the initial soul state stage. In terms of spiritual strength alone, it is comparable to other intermediate soul state experts. Xiao Yin frowned. He had not trained his spirit much during this period of time. Thus, the progress of his spiritual strength had been quite slow. It seemed that he needed to fork over more time in the future. There must not be favoritism between Qi and spiritual strength. After all, these two things were extremely important to Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin clenched his hand when he thought of this. A scroll that was formed from ancient skin appeared in his hand. The skin of the scroll was a dark yellow. At a glance, one could tell that it had existed for a long time. Xiao Yin carefully pulled open the scroll. No characters appeared on it. Xiao Yin did not feel surprise upon seeing this. Spiritual strength spread from between his brows, after which it slowly covered the scroll. Following the presence of Xiao Yan's spiritual strength, some invisible ripples quietly formed on the skin. Then, wave after wave of information poured into Xiao Yan's mind through his soul. Great single soul skill. The information flowed into Xiao Yan's head and immediately transformed into large mysterious characters that surfaced deep within his mind. After a careful examination, it was uncovered that this was a qi method to train one's soul. Of course, this soul training method was the prize that Xiao Yin had obtained as the champion of the pill gathering. Xiao Yin had studied it frequently after obtaining it, but he had not formally trained with it yet. He was about to travel to the Goo Realm, and there was no telling just what he would meet there. It was definitely not wrong to be a little better prepared. Yao Lao had also studied this so-called great single soul skill. His evaluation of it was not bad. After all, this thing was an object from the ancient times. Spiritual training during ancient times consisted of a number of aspects compared to the future generation of qi methods. Hence, Xiao Yin did object to practicing this qi method. Both his spiritual training method and this great single soul skill had their own advantages. Xiao Yin shut his eyes, and his mind sank into that mysterious soul training method. It was a long time later before he slowly opened them. This great single soul skill is full of unique aspects. No wonder it was the reward of the pill gathering champion. The few lines of the word formula that I had obtained were shabby compared to this. Xiao Yin carefully studied this great single soul skill. He gradually touched something while training his spiritual strength. He was not a new person. The control over his soul was at a grandmaster level. The great single soul skill training formula might be vague, but it was not difficult for him to understand. After some thought, the areas that he had been lost in the past suddenly opened up. It was that insightful feeling after parting the dark clouds and seeing the bright moon. While Xiao Yin was feeling pleased, the spiritual strength that lingered between his brows slowly began to rotate. A numb feeling was vaguely emitted from between his brows, after which Xiao Yin suddenly sensed an unusual suction force being emitted. The surrounding air rippled as bits of spiritual strength seeped out and poured into his brows. Who? Upon sensing this change, Xiao Yin slowly inhaled a deep breath on top of feeling shocked. Was this the change that occurred after possessing a complete qi method? No wonder the alchemists from the ancient times were in their heyday. These ancient spiritual strength training methods were full of unique aspects. With this complete training method, my spiritual training in the future will finally enter the right track. If I was lucky enough, his spiritual state would be able to reach the intermediate soul state. At that time, refining a medicinal pill with more than 5 colored pill lightning would not be impossible. An expression of joy filled the area between Xiaoyan's brows. The surprise that this great single soul skill gave him far exceeded what he had expected. At this moment, he regretted not having practiced it earlier. Otherwise, his spiritual strength would have stepped into the intermediate soul state level. Of course, this regret merely lasted for a flash before it disappeared. It was difficult to achieve everything. During this period of time, he might have neglected the training of spiritual strength, but his improvement in terms of Do Qi was quite pleasing. Within a short 2 years, he had rose from the peak of the Do Zone class to his current 5-star Do Zun status. This speed could make up for all losses. Xiaoyan only smiled in satisfaction after having firmly remembered all of the information within the great single soul skill. He returned it to his storage ring and once again focused his mind on the training method. This continued for a couple of hours before he opened his eyes in a refreshed manner. A miraculous effect beyond my expectations, Xiaoyan praised with his mouth. He mused for a moment before clenching his hand. A bright red scroll once again appeared. Following the appearance of this scroll, a wave of rich fire energy billowed out. This bright red scroll was the scroll that Xiaoyan had snatched from the Dosheng remains back then. However, it had been left in cold storage by Xiaoyan after he had obtained it. After all, everything was not worth mentioning when compared to the great heaven creation palm, but he had just remembered it. This thing was ultimately an object belonging to a Dosheng and would not be lousy. There was nothing bad in having more techniques in one's hands. Earth Resolve Flame, D-Class High-Grade Do Skill. It is unleashed through a strange method. One's Do Qi needs to be inserted into the land to create an extremely hot gas stream. The stream of gas will then shoot out of the ground under the opponent's feet in an unexpected manner. The attack will not reveal any sound nor presence as it delivers a fatal blow to the other party. This Do skill possesses some requirements in terms of the terrain. The closer one is to a volcanic area, the greater its strength. Xiaoyan swiftly absorbed the information within the bright red scroll into his mind. His heart was a little interested. This Earth Resolve Flame was not like other Do skills that required large-scale build-ups. Its silence and lack of aura could catch others off guard. The terrain requirement did not impede Xiaoyan. He was a human volcano with 4 types of heavenly flames. If the heavenly flame's strength was poured into the gas stream, the might of this Do skill would become even more powerful. It is indeed worthy of being a part of the collection of an elite Dosheng. It is far from ordinary, Xiaoyan softly praised. He was aware that he had added another task, to successfully learn this so-called Earth Resolve Flame. 7 days swiftly passed. During these 7 days, Xiaoyan immersed himself in training. He practiced the great single soul skill and the Earth Resolve Flame during this time. He forgot about food and sleep, but was gaining a deeper understanding of these 2 skills. When this bitter training continued to its 8th day, a familiar aura finally appeared within his senses. That aura belonged to the little fairy doctor. She has actually become this strong, huh? Even with Xiaoyan's temperament, he involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath of air when he sensed the degree of strength in this aura. Xiaoyan swiftly pushed open the door and walked out. He saw a beautiful figure in snow-like clothes on the edge of the quiet courtyard in front of his room. The figure was standing there elegantly. The smile on the lady's face was extremely alluring. "Have you finally returned?" Xiaoyan stopped walking. He looked at the lady, who stood in scattered sunlight, and was involuntarily startled. The little fairy doctor's snow-like hair had once again regained its original color. Long black hair poured down her back like a waterfall, randomly spreading behind her. A gentle wind blew over, causing her hair to sway. The appearance of the little fairy doctor was the same as when Xiao had first met her back in Qingshan town within the Jiama Empire, except her alluring demeanor had become more potent. Even the gentle smile on her face was the same. The current her was the true little fairy doctor. Back then, she had rescued the dead and supported the injured within the Qingshan town. She had been viewed as a fairy in the heart of a countless number of mercenaries. Why? Don't you recognize me? The little fairy doctor took a couple of steps forward and arrived in front of Xiao. She looked at his stunned expression and involuntarily laughed. Your hair, Xiao muttered. His eyes suddenly paused on the little fairy doctor's smooth forehead. There was a faint, grayish complicated imprint at that spot. At a glance, it appeared just like a seal. This is the spot where the woeful poison body exists. At this moment, all the woeful poison chi within my body has transformed into this seal. That elder is really an extraordinary person. She was able to create a method to completely condense the woeful poison body. The little fairy doctor gently rubbed the symbol on her smooth forehead as she laughed. Xiao nodded while feeling at a loss. His eyes swept over the little fairy doctor before he bitterly laughed. From what I can sense, the aura that you currently possess is likely even stronger than Tianhua Zunjia, right? It should be at the 7th star. The little fairy doctor replied with a sweet smile. Sealing the woeful poison body appeared to have caused the large rock in her heart to fully scatter. Her smile now was more relaxed and more tempting. A 7-star dozun. Xiao involuntarily sighed when he heard this. Putting it this way, it seemed that even the little fairy doctor had raised her strength by 3 stars or so. This caused Xiao, whose strength had barely risen by 2 stars after swallowing a heavenly flame, to feel extremely speechless. Why was it that he was acquainted with people who could not be a little more ordinary? My body had gathered too much poison chi. The best evidence of this was the transformation of my hair into a white color, but after practicing the chi method that the elder had left behind, the poison chi that I had gathered became a tonic. Otherwise, I would not have been able to make this leap, the little fairy doctor gently explained. Xiao helplessly nodded. He was naturally happy that the little fairy doctor and the others could experience such a lucky encounter. From another point of view, the increase in their strengths could be considered an increase in his. Nevertheless, this kind of rising speed was a little shocking. Everyone's strength had basically soared within less than 1 year, and they had all reached quite a strong level. With the lineup of Xiao group, they would be able to kill the 9th Tianzuan from the Hall of Souls should they meet him again. A person who appeared to only possess a 5-star strength, but was able to unleash a frightening combat strength that was comparable to a 6-star or even 7-star expert, along with 2 6-star dozuns, and an expert 7-star dozun with the woeful poison body. As long as the Hall of Souls did not activate a Ban Shang class ultimate expert, this lineup would be able to escape in one piece even while being chased by the Hall of Souls. Since you have arrived, it is time for us to leave. Xiao gradually recovered from the joy of the great increase in the little fairy doctor's strength. He stretched his lazy waist and laughed in an indolent manner. The little fairy doctor smiled when she heard Xiao decision and did not object. Her heart felt quite happy with quietly helping him do things from behind. The second day after the little fairy doctor returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, Xiao group once again gathered together. After some preparations, the 4 of them quietly left. Other than Yao Lao and a few others, they did not alert anyone as they left. The Goo Realm was located in the eastern region of the Central Plains. Most of the factions in that region were subordinates of the Goo Clan. However, the supreme leader of this eastern region was foreign to even some of the leaders of these factions. They only knew that this exceptional existence possessed an extremely frightening strength. If one wished to muddle along within this incomparably vast eastern region, a subordinate faction with the Goo Clan above them possessed an effective, powerful card. The Goo Clan was a mysterious and powerful clan with talent that caused an ordinary person to feel extreme envy since the ancient times. The training path that was unusually tough in the eyes of an ordinary person appeared like a flat, wide road that led to the sky in the eyes of someone from the Goo Clan. All they needed was a tiny bit of training in order to become an expert in the eyes of an ordinary person, swiftly surpassing those of the same generation who trained with great effort. Ultimately, those many dazzlingly lights would overlap above people's heads. Thus, the Goo Clan retained a mysterious luster in the eyes of many people within the eastern region. Even in some distant areas, there were people who thought of them as gods. That fanaticism caused an ordinary person to feel disbelief, because everyone knew that there was no divine being in this world. The Falling Star Pavilion was far from the eastern region. Even with the speed of Xiao group and the use of some wormholes, it would require at least half a month to reach the eastern region. Xiao group could only hurry in. By counting the time, there was merely less than a month until the adult ceremony. If they were late, it was likely that they would miss this rare occasion. Key. An enormous black figure rushed through the azure sky. Wave after wave of wind and airflow was made visible to the naked eye. According to this speed of ours, we should reach the eastern region tomorrow. However, it is rumored that the entrance to the Goo Realm is located in a city called Goo City within the eastern region. A couple of figures were seated on the enormous body of a 9 serene deep-ground python. The little fairy doctor held a map in her hand as she explained the situation to Xiao in front of her. Goo City, huh? Xiao nodded. He had heard of this name. The reputation of this city in the eastern region surpassed the Pill Tower's Holy Pill City because it was the entrance to the Goo Realm. The Goo City is a city that prohibits outsiders from entering. Quite a number of experts from the Goo Realm guard it. If one does not possess an invitation card, even top Dozun experts would not be able to barge into it even if they wanted to. The little fairy doctor laughed. However, this is not a problem for us. There are quite a number of large cities within the eastern region that possess a wormhole that connect to the area around the Goo City. At that time, all we need is to use a wormhole to reach the Goo City. If no unforeseen circumstances occur, we will appear outside the Goo City in 5 days. Xiao nodded. He turned to Qinglin and asked, "There have been no problems, right?" There is not a single spatial fluctuation within a 50-kilometer radius. We have left very abruptly. Even if the Hall of Souls wishes to follow us, it would not be easy to do so. Qinglin slightly nodded. 3 tiny black spots were slowly rotating within her eyes. Any energy fluctuations within a 50-kilometer radius were captured by her eyes. With Qinglin as a scout, it would be quite difficult for the Hall of Souls to follow them and launch a surprise attack. Xiao smiled when he heard this. He said, "In that case, increase our speed." That large tail of the 9 serene deep-ground python was suddenly swung when his words sounded. Its enormous body shot forward like a meteorite and disappeared into the horizon within the blink of an eye. Xiao trip was smooth throughout the way. On the morning of the next day, his group had arrived in the territory belonging to the eastern region of the Central Plains. However, they did not stop along the way. Instead, they found a large city with a wormhole that led to the area around the Goo City, after which they entered it without stopping. While they were shuttling through the wormhole, Xiao group was a little surprised to discover that this wormhole was extremely lively. Occasionally, a ray of light would flow by within the spatial tunnel. One could even see some experts walking in the air. The weakest person that Xiao saw was a Dozong. Clearly, these people were all heading to Goo City. However, He didn't know which factions these people belonged to. Due to the area being crowded and messy, Xiao Yan's group did not chat with those around them. Instead, they quietly traveled. Another 5 days swiftly passed. On the 5th day, Xiao Yan, who had kept his eyes shut, slowly opened them. His eyes focused on the end of the silver spatial tunnel. The spatial energy rippled. A silver light cluster vaguely appeared. Have we finally arrived? Xiao Yan gently sighed as he studied that light cluster. A fiery heat quietly climbed into his heart. That alluring figure that could bring disaster to countries and cities gradually became clearer within his mind. Xun'er, I have arrived. That youth, who had once been shaken by this mysterious clan to the point of being speechless, was finally about to meet them.